Our next guest, Tara Gesling, author of The 180-Degree Wellness Revolution, is here to talk to us about her story and what we can do to make a 180 revolution in our own life. At the age of 28, Tara was disabled and found herself in a wheelchair with no hope for recovery. Diagnosed with late-stage reflex sympathetic dystrophy, chronic pain syndrome, autoimmune thyroid disease, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, rheumatoid arthritis, IBS, hypoglycemia, Bell's palsy, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and more than 25 conditions altogether. And she was 70 pounds overweight. She reversed many of these symptoms and has made it her personal mission to educate others about the power of plants, food, and self-care to bring astonishing transformation and health back into one's life. Welcome, Tara. That was one heck of a list. I had trouble even just reading it all.
Yeah, it was not fun to live it.
No. So tell me, how did this all come together for you? Were you just, one day you were just diagnosed with everything, or how did that come to fruition?
Well, it kind of felt like it all came at one point, but it actually didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up fast food, and so I didn't get a lot of nutrition. Of course, I had no idea what that was, that it mattered. Far as I knew, I was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was in my mid-20s, at the doctor's appointments, I would get diagnosed with high cholesterol and high blood pressure and all these different things, hypoglycemia, but I was basically told, you're so young, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
No big
like,
deal.
Oh, it'll go away, or you're
Yeah.
young, it's nothing.
Yeah, worry about it later,
Yeah.
no biggie. And so I didn't, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, cool. So, and these things are all so common today, and I thought it was normal,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not.
Yeah.
So down the road, I had some dental work done, had some amalgam work done, and then I had an injury where I actually fell and tore ligaments and tendons and whatnot in my leg.
Mm-hmm.
And the injury didn't heal properly. And I started having all kinds of problems. And then I started having problems walking. And then I was losing my balance, and then I was falling. And eventually, within 2 years, I was in a wheelchair.
Wow. And you were so young.
Yeah, I was 28 at that point.
So what made you say, you know what, I need to get better, or I want to get better? How did that come to life for you?
Well, I had been very, very ill and in a lot of pain. It was incredible pain. And so I had been in the wheelchair at that point
Mm-hmm.
probably about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just at that point where I was done.
Mm-hmm.
I was done. So I said a prayer, and I said, God, either show me what I need to do or take me, because I cannot imagine, staying here and dealing with this for that long, for the rest of my life, however long that would be.
Mm-hmm.
And within a couple of months, I actually had a near-death experience, and it was the most phenomenal thing that had ever happened to me.
Wow.
And so when I came back from that, I didn't have all the answers, but I did know a lot of things that I didn't know prior, and I knew that I could get better.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the big turnaround for me.
Mm-hmm. So what's the first thing that you did when you're like, okay, I know I can get better? I know viewers probably want to know, like, what did she do? What's the first thing that you did?
There was a lot of things I did, but probably the first thing I did was I looked at the food, because I knew I came back knowing I was being poisoned.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to look at the food, I had to look at the medications I was on, and at that time I was on like 13 different medications.
Wow.
And that did not include the supplements. So
There's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. And so I had to look at everything, and I talked with my doctor, and I slowly came off of the medications. But the way I did that was by looking at nutrition, looking at the labels, and understanding that the food I was eating had a lot of chemicals in it, and it really wasn't food.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to my pantry, and I started, one thing at a time, because we couldn't afford to just
Overhaul.
Yeah.
Like, people want to do, I think a lot of people are like, I'm going to get healthy and I just want to redo my entire pantry, but it's not realistic.
I couldn't do it, yeah. And so it was not realistic for me. So we ended up, one thing at a time. I did one thing each week.
I love that.
And it was amazing, because in 12 weeks, I had changed 12 things.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, here I was in a wheelchair trying to do this. So, even just what I was trying to do was enough. It was overwhelming, and it was enough. So after 12 weeks, then I was able to actually start on 2 things a week. You know, I felt, you know,
empowered.
yeah, and it was like, okay, I can do a little more, you know, so I added another one in, and so then I started changing 2 things a week. And within a couple, you know, 3 months, it was amazing. I had a totally different pantry, and I was eating real food. And I also started back in my garden, and I started growing my own food, so I was getting really, you know, good mineral-rich food, and that was like such a blessing for me because it got me out of the house, and I would just get on my butt and scoot around the garden. So it was a lot of fun. It was the highlight of my day, actually, at that time. So.
I love that. And I love, you said this to me earlier, you count, what do you count instead of calories?
Oh yeah, I learned, you know, forget about counting calories. You know, I dropped that 70 pounds, and I dropped it, I never counted a calorie one. I counted chemicals. And so that's what I teach today. Yeah, when I'm working with people, I'm teaching them, count chemicals, stop worrying about the calories, look at the chemicals, because your body is going to store that fat, or it's going to actually store the chemicals in the fat.
And when it doesn't know what to do with them.
Right, and it's really trying to protect your organs, and so therefore, if you try to lose that weight without getting, you know, taking that burden off of the body, it's not going to happen. Your body is going to hold those fat cells.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
It has to.
Yeah. So what are maybe some preventative issues or preventative things that people can do? Maybe they're not to the extreme of what you went through, but maybe they're just not feeling good. What are some things that they can do on a daily basis?
Right, okay. Well, what I did was the book that I wrote it because it's the guide I wish that I'd had, you know, prior to all of this happening. And so one of the things that I love to show people is look at what you're eating. Look at the ingredients, learn how to read a label, and understand, you know, when there's chemicals on there, that's not meant for your body. It really isn't. And so pay attention to that and start removing the chemicals and start replacing them with better foods. And there's a lot more to it than just food.
For sure.
You know, there's so much more, but at the same time, that's a great place to start. And
it's something that I think most people can do.
Yeah,
and I think that you made it very easy. It's that you don't have to change your entire pantry. You don't have to go out and get all organic. Just do one thing at a time, and you'll start seeing results.
Right, baby steps. And you get there faster than you realize.
Absolutely. Great. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Your story is just so powerful, so amazing. I'm always glad to talk to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for more on Tara and her amazing tips, visit her on Twitter and Instagram at Tara Gesling. And next up on the Zest, we will be learning how to make natural lip balm. So stay tuned.